Welcome to Naturally par José, a health and well-being podcast. I'm your host, José Fortin. Today's subject will be stress management. We will explore our body's reaction to stress and the impact it has on our health. A very important element in health and well-being is the homeostasis concept. Homeostasis is the tendency of an organism to maintain a stable internal state. Our body will do everything it can to keep certain element at a stable concentration in our body for natural process to occur. Our mineral level in the blood need to be pretty stable for our body to be able to use them properly. So examples, iron, calcium, magnesium are all mineral that your body will do everything to maintain. So if there is not enough calcium, for an example, your bone can leach calcium out so that the blood levels stay stable. If there's too much, our body can store it in soft tissues. It can put it in our liver or muscles at different places in stock in case we need more eventually down the line. Hormones are another element that our body will work really hard to keep at a constant level because hormones will make sure that certain process happen as they should. For example, your thyroid hormones, if you don't have enough circulating around to achieve its role on our metabolism, weight, body temperature, well, then the body has different ways to ensure that your thyroid is stimulated to produce even more of it. The body temperature is another element that your body will work really hard at keeping stable because a lot of functions depend on a stable internal body temperature. If you're cold, your muscle will start to spasm to create heat. If you're too hot, you will start sweating so that your body can get rid of excess heat that way. Probably one of the most important elements is your blood sugar level. It's particularly important for your body to keep that stable because your brain only food is sugar. If we look at the different cells in our body, like your liver cells, your muscles, sugar will be the main fuel that it will use if it's available. But in cases where your blood sugar level would go too low and there's not enough, they can always use fat or protein to be able to function properly. But in the case of your brain, you need sugar for it to function as it should. So if your blood sugar level fluctuates too much, it can affect your brain capacity to concentrate and do simple cognition functions. Your body will work really hard to maintain blood sugar level at a specific level. And this is called homeostasis. Stress is a very interesting element because in consultation, when I talk to my clients, if I just ask them straight up, are you stressed? Do you have a lot of stress in your life? A lot of clients have difficulty answering that question because it's a concept that's very hard to define. And also, they have a difficulty evaluating the level of stress that is in their life. It has taken a very long time for us to define really what stress is and what it exactly does in our system. Dr. Anne Cellier, the father of biological stress research, defined stress as the body non-specific response to various innocuous stimulus or stressors. That simply means that whenever our body perceives stress, it will always respond the same way. Well, what are stressors? It can be an imbalance of your body that's creating that stress. Anytime the body is not in homeostasis, it will have a tendency to bring it back to that state. So if it cannot, that's a stress. So if somebody's ill or injured, if they have a health issue, then that can be perceived as a stress by the body. It can be emotional. Somebody close to you got injured. You're all stressed because you have to go to the hospital. That can be a source of stress. So some strong emotions can be triggers for that response. Also, there's some stimulants in your environment that can be perceived as stressors. It can be some food we're eating, coffee, alcohol, sugar. Those are all considered stimulants in your body. They will have a tendency to trigger the stress response. Pollution, chemical additives, alcohol, nicotine, those are all things that will have a tendency to create imbalance in our body. They're considered toxic, and because of that, our system will work really hard at eliminating those things. So those can be also stressors. Dr. Anne Cellier also talked about the theory of general adaptation syndrome, and there's 3 different phases of stress. So there's phase 1, which is a simple fight or flight reaction. It's the alarm reaction your body has on short-term and acute stress. Then you have the second phase, which is the resistant phase. In this one, your body is having more difficulty responding as it should because the stress has a more detrimental effect on your health. And then you have the exhaustion phase. We will look at that so that you can have a good idea of what stress does on your system and how you can prevent it from doing those things. The fight or flight reaction, let's explain it in a very easy way. If we have a caveman that comes face to face with a dinosaur, the caveman sees the dinosaur, it's far off, and the dinosaur has not seen him yet, but he sees it. His eyes will send the stimuli to his brain, telling his brain, oh, this weird looking bird we see over there, we've seen it before and it's not a good news. This is danger written in red capital letters. So we have to do something. That information goes to the memory zone, the limbic zone. And this zone is connected to your hypothalamus that is directly connected to your pituitary. Those are located right in the middle of your brain. The limbic zone will associate what the caveman sees to a danger. So it will send an electronic impulse to the hypothalamus that will tell the pituitary gland to secrete an hormone. It will transform the nervous system impulse into a glandular system response. Both your nervous system and glandular system are implicated in the stress management reaction in your body. Once the pituitary is stimulated, it will secrete ACTH, which is a hormone that stimulates your adrenal glands. Adrenal glands are number 1 stress glands. They're the main one that will deal with stress in your body. They will secrete 2 hormones, cortisol and adrenaline. The role of cortisol is to release a lot of sugar. It will have a tendency to enhance brain use of sugar, and it will stimulate how your body repairs damaged tissue. It will bring more sugar into your system so your brain can function better, react to that stress, and also so that your muscles can react as well. Because your muscle need a lot of sugar whenever you need to run, you need to fight, you need to move around. It brings a lot of fuel to both your brain and your muscles. Adrenaline dilate your respiratory passage so that there's more oxygen getting into your system. It increases heart rate and blood pressure. So because of that, everything will circulate a lot faster. So more oxygen and more sugar going everywhere in your body so that your body is ready to react. So the caveman seeing that weird bird flying at the horizon, if the bird spots it and try to attack the caveman, it will have then all the sugar and the oxygen needed to start fighting the bird. Or if the bird hasn't seen him, well, then he can turn around and start running. There again, he has all the energy needed to react. This is a natural physical response to stress. You see something dangerous, you react to it, so you use up all the extra sugar and the oxygen going around into your system, and you're able to survive. It's a survival reaction. Unfortunately, in today's society, people do not always have the opportunity to react to stress appropriately. Like they have no way to use up all that extra sugar and extra oxygen going around in their system. And it has a tendency to just stay there. Because if you're very stressed at work, you're working hard, but you're not physically expending a lot of energy, your boss is on your case, you cannot even expend that much energy with your brain because you're in a meeting and you have to discuss this and that and not actually create, well, then it means that your body is in a stress state. There's extra sugar and oxygen going around into your body, but you have no way to expend it. Your body will work really hard to bring everything back in homeostasis. That's extra energy trying to undo something that was previously perceived as a stress. It's much easier whenever you can spend that energy. If you can go exercise after a stressful day or you can move around, well, then the body doesn't have to put back all that sugar into storage. It can use it up and then it's less of a stress. So today's issue is that not only we have an inappropriate response to stress in a lot of situations, well, there's not much we can do in some cases right on the spot to lessen the impact, but also people do have a lot more long-term stress, chronic stress that do not go away. There's some illnesses that can keep you in that state, but if somebody, let's say, have financial issues and it's always there on their mind, that's a low-grade stress, but it's always there. It's not a fight or flight survival reaction. You're not going to die because this is happening, but it's eating at you, and it's a situation where it's always will put your body into that stress response reaction. At the same time, all these things happen to the body and to the stress reaction because the body spends so much energy trying to fight or flight. It will slow down all other functions that are not absolutely necessary for that reaction. So it will have a tendency to reduce all digestive functions because it figure out, well, we do have storage, so we'll use our storage in this emergency situation. So we do not need to digest food and store it up as much because we'll use what is easier of access. Your liver function, your digestive tract will tend to slow down. It won't digest food as efficiently. But also your immune system will not produce as many white blood cells to defend itself. It will rely on the fact that there's enough circulating around for a short-term stress. This is a situation that can become very alarming if it's a chronic stress because your digestive system is always underactive and your immune system as well. So you want to make sure that you manage your stress properly so that it doesn't become a chronic stress, that there's some times in your day that you feel relaxed, that you do not feel you have to achieve specific things and you have to compete. If somebody's always under stress like this, there's always a weak link somewhere in the body. Anne Seeley was always saying that it's the weak link in your body that will give up, and that's when some specific illnesses will come out. That's why stress can be associated with a lot of different health issues because it's not one specific situation that will appear automatically if you're under a lot of stress, but it can be linked to a lot of different health issues. Usually signs that your body is not able to cope with stress as well, because in phase 2, the resistant phase, you do have that stress reaction, but your body is having more difficulty coming back to an homeostasis state. It has a little delay happening all the time, and deeper you go into that phase, the more that delay can be longer before you get back to a balanced state. So if you're having chronic stress and it's happening all the time, well, it simply will affect the way your body regulates a lot of different functions. For some people, it can be affecting your circulatory system because your high blood pressure has a tendency to stay up a lot longer and your heart rate will increase too. So you have a tendency to have a heart rate that's always racing a little bit more. You can suffer from tachycardia, palpitations, arrhythmia. It can be affected in all those different ways. If your weak link in your body is your circulatory system, If it's the digestive tract, it can be your liver having difficulty digesting things. So you might have difficulty digesting fatty food. You might have difficulty controlling your cholesterol level because the liver plays a big role in there. It can also have an impact on having bowel movement regularly. It can also just mean that whenever you're going to eat a meal, it will feel like a big ball in your stomach, having difficulty digesting it. It will sit there a lot longer than it should, so you feel not well after eating any type of food. You can also have anxiety, depression. Your nervous system can be affected because if the glandular system is not reacting properly, the nervous system can be impacted by all this. People can have more difficulty sleeping. They can have a tendency towards just being anxious overall in their life. They're more jumpy. They have difficulty concentrating. Stress can have a big impact in a lot of different ways, and it's really hard to predict where you'll see a big imbalance. But one area where it's very typical, it's your blood sugar level. Because as I mentioned, blood sugar level is one of the things that your body's working really hard at keeping in balance. If you're under a lot of stress and your body's having difficulty maintaining balance overall, it can impact the way your body's regulating blood sugar levels. Your body will have a tendency to have a lot more variation in blood sugar levels. You can have symptoms of hypoglycemia. Hypoglycemia is not really a disease, it's more a symptom. It's more indicating that your body's having difficulty just keeping homeostasis. Typically, people that have a blood sugar level that's more unstable will have a low in energy or just simple cravings 2 hours after eating a meal. Because when they eat food, blood sugar level always goes up because whatever you eat will have some sugar. Even if it's just in the vegetables you're eating, a little bit of potato, rice, some bread, or any carbs will break down into sugars. People have enough sugar in their meals to increase their blood sugar level at least a bit. And then the body will work at putting that extra sugar into storage. If it's exhausted and the stress axis is not performing as well, often the body has a tendency to overreact. The blood sugar level can dip lower than it should. It's going to store up more sugar into the liver, into tissues for later use. But it's doing it in a way that is delayed. So because of that, the reaction is too intense. The blood sugar level will go down a little bit lower than it should be. Because of that, you will feel more exhausted. You'll have a low in energy. You can have also cravings because your body will say, hey, you're not having enough sugar, so it's time to eat again. But your body doesn't need food every 2 hours. You should be able to go 4 hours before having to eat. But because your capacity to keep balance has been compromised, you might have cravings 2 hours after eating a meal. If you have those symptoms, it's usually an indication that your adrenals are not performing as well as they should. They are showing sign of slight exhaustion. It's the stage where a lot of different disease can start appearing. In this resistant phase, cortisol stay higher than usual. One way to see if you're possibly in that stage would be to have a cortisol test. And the best ones are the saliva sample types. Blood samples, it's not the active cortisol, while the saliva samples usually are pretty accurate. If your cortisol level are high, that can be an indication that you're in this resistant phase. In the exhaustion phase, and we do not want to get to that stage, that's when the adrenal are really exhausted. They cannot respond to stress anymore. There's no more release of cortisol and adrenaline. Those are at a low level. And that's when people have chronic fatigue syndrome. It's your adrenals have given up. You're in a state where they will not respond to stress stimulus anymore. You will not get an increase in cortisol, an increase in adrenaline. You will not have an increase in sugar level in your brain and oxygen circulating around. Because of that, it's harder for you to deal with extra demand. people who are in that state usually cannot deal with any stress. They will feel fatigue all the time. They can stay up maybe an hour or two at a time, but they have to sleep a lot during the day. They spend a lot of time just at a very slow rhythm. The resistant phase, when your adrenals are showing signs of being exhausted, that's still reversible. You can still access easy energy, and it's possible to renew that energy. You have to take care of yourself. You have to make sure that you give your body the proper support to reverse the situation, and that's still possible to recover, maybe not 100%, but pretty close to it. Once you get to the exhaustion phase, when there's no more reaction at all, that means your adrenals have given you symptoms to show you they were in distress, but you have not listened to those symptoms and you've kept going. When you get to that stage, that is really hard to recover from it, and usually you will never recover 100%. Your adrenals will never work the same way. So you'll always be more sensitive to stress, and you'll need more rest than most people. You'll need to take care of yourself and do extra stress management. Nobody wants to get to that stage. So the exhaustion phase, you don't want to get there. In that stage, there's no boost in cortisol, no boost in adrenaline, so everything stays low. So if you have a cortisol test, it's usually pretty low. How do we deal with this? What can we do to make sure that we have a good energy, that we keep that homeostasis a lot better? First of all, very important, be active. So when you have that stress happening and you have that extra sugar going around, extra oxygen, the best way to bring it back under control is if you exercise. So if you are having a lot of stress at work, it's not a bad idea right after work to have an exercise session. You go for a walk, you go jogging, you swim, you go to the gym. Just spend that energy. That will help your body go back in homeostasis a lot faster. That's why companies that have a gym at their work and people can go exercise on their lunch, they're amazing practice that can help with stress management quite a lot. Being active is an easy way to help the body adapt to stress really fast. It doesn't have to be a very strenuous activity. It can be simple as just walking. If you don't have access to a gym, if you don't like any sports with high impact, you can simply go for an active walk. You push yourself to walk as fast as you can without being completely out of breath. It should be a little bit of a challenge just to keep talking all the time while you walk. You should be a little bit out of breath. If you're not used to it, start gradually. Just doing a good 30 to 45 minutes of walk every day after a stressful situation can really help. Do something that you like so that way you will stick to it. Number 2, identify what caused your stress. That can even be your number 1, because it's important to understand what is stressing us. Because if we can avoid it, that's even better. If it's toxic friendships or money issues, work environment, and you can do something about it, that means it should be your first priority. Because if you feel that this is a major source of stress, well, you should do something about it. So if it's toxic friendships, well, maybe it's time for you to find new friends that will not bring you down, that will not judge you, do new activities, and maybe that will develop more easily. Money issues, well, maybe it's important for you to revisit what are your priorities. Is it important to have the big car, the big house, and all the fixtures that comes with it? Or it's better to have a simpler life with less stress? Work environment, the same thing. So if you hate your job, you don't want to go to work all the time, that's not a good thing. It will have an impact on your health short term, not even long term. Finding something you're passionate about is really important. If you cannot totally change jobs, sometimes just changing department, doing something new, a new challenge. It might not be your dream job, but it's at least interesting. Trying to simplify your life Some people are just stressed because they have so much in their calendar and all of it is very interesting, but sometimes pacing it out. Delegate. If you're in your children's school PA meeting and you have all kind of extra activities, well, find people to help you out. Don't do it all on your own. That way it's less stressful. You might find new friends. You can that way share the load, so it's a lot less stressful. Number 3 would be eat a healthy diet, making sure you don't have any major deficiencies. Because if you're lacking some basic element, that can be a stress for your body too. You need to have a complete diet with all the minerals, vitamins, and everything it needs to produce the hormones and the different elements your body needs to keep that homeostasis. You want to make sure you have enough fruits, vegetables, wholesome grains, good source of proteins. We'll talk about the different diets in future episodes. Just trying to improve it already makes a difference. But also, particularly avoid consuming too much stimulants. So, you want to be careful about eating too much sugar, having too much coffee, alcohol, or anything that will stimulate your body. A little challenge, maybe reduce your consumption of stimulant by half if you feel you have a lot of stress in your life to make sure they have less of an impact on your overall health. Get plenty of sleep. Your body needs sleep to repair, to recover. And if you do not sleep enough, that's a major stress because your body has to work overtime to compensate for that. It's also when you sleep that your immune system is the most active. It will help counterbalance a little bit of the stress impact on your health. Most people really need 8 hours of restful and continuous sleep. If you're waking up all the time or that you don't get into a deep, restful sleep, if you wake up in the morning after 8 hours sleep and you're still feeling exhausted, that means your sleep is not deep enough or it doesn't go into the normal sleep cycles. We have cycles that we go deeper, come closer to waking up, go deeper again, closer to waking up. And it should do that several cycles during your nighttime. So if it doesn't create those patterns, well, that can be a reason why you don't feel rested. Some medication will bring you in a very deep sleep, but because you're not cycling, you will wake up not feeling rested at all. Relaxation exercise are highly recommended. Those can be ways to help alleviate some of the stress, can help you relax, feel more in control. Some of those exercises can be yoga, tai chi, meditation. There's a lot of techniques. Some people will light up a candle and they'll focus on the flame, just trying to empty their mind, looking at the flame dancing around and not think about anything. That sometimes will help them achieve a more relaxed state. If you feel really stressed and you're already exercising, but you feel you need extra, you can go for massages. Those can help teach your muscles to not be tense. That can help release some of the stress. But one very easy exercise that everybody can do is deep breathing. Particularly if you do it properly, that can have a huge relaxing impact on your nervous system and glandular system. The reason is when you breathe in, you have to breathe in from the nose. That will bring a lot of oxygen directly to the area where your limbic zone, hypothalamus, and pituitary are, because the top of your nasal cavities is connected directly to those elements. If you breathe in a lot of oxygen, it will help them function properly, and that will help relieve some stress. You breathe in slowly, bring in a lot of oxygen. You inhale as long as you can. You keep it in so that it stays there and your body can absorb as much oxygen as possible. It goes into your lungs too, so that the oxygen can circulate all over your body as well. And then you breathe out through the mouth. You don't want to breathe out through the nose because then all the benefit would be lost because you would bring CO2 to come in contact with your nervous system. You breathe out through the mouth to get it out of your system quickly. If you do that slowly about 10 times in an environment where there's a good air quality, you can go outside in your yard, you can open a window and do it in front of a window in your home if it's winter time. Or in the worst situation, you can even do it in your car if you're going back home and that's the only time you'll have to do it. If you make sure that you're not doing it right where the traffic is the worst or that the air quality in your car is going to be awful. If you're circulating in a more rural area, you can open your windows a little bit and you can just do it while you drive back home. It's not something that asks a lot of concentration from you, and you only need to repeat it 10 times. The first few times, just do it at home so that you know how your body will react. But then, as long as you don't feel dizzy, you can do it anywhere you feel that would be beneficial for you. Even doing it at work, if you had a very stressful situation, you're allowed a 15-minute break. Just go outside, go in the park at front or anywhere where you feel air quality is a bit better, and do that exercise to help release some stress. And when you'll come back, you'll feel much more in control and your body will be a lot calmer. So that will help with your stress management. Take time for yourself. Either find hobbies you like, keep a journal. Sometimes writing down everything that comes into your mind can help you see your issues clearer so that you can do something about it. Do activities with your friends, your family. If you find that's stressful, you can simply do voluntary work. You can go in a shelter, offer some of your time. That can be a way of feeling useful. That's something that can be quite effective in reducing stress. Have a sense of humor. Find things that make your life feel lighter. Just find reasons why to laugh. And sometimes it's just sitting down and looking at young children, how easy they can relax. And that brings us to more basic emotions. Seek professional counseling. If you feel that it's out of control, that you don't know where to start, that your life is so stressful that you have no idea how to resolve this, seek professional counseling. It can be somebody that will help you with mental health, but it can be also just a coach, somebody that will help you set your priorities so that you can just decide, okay, this is where I want my life to be in 10 years, and how can I bring it there? In 1 year, what are the improvements I should expect? They can help you set goals for yourself and achieve them. Don't be afraid to ask help because sometimes we don't have the tools to do everything on our own. Others can help you achieve your goals. Eventually, we'll talk more about supplements and things you can do to help your body come back into homeostasis more easily. But in this specific episode, I just wanted to underline two things that I find could help most people that live a lot of stress. Well, when the pituitary is under a lot of stress and is getting on balance, often people's mind will have a tendency to race a lot. They will often speak quite rapidly and they have a tendency to overthink things. There's always a little hamster going 100 miles an hour in there running around, and ideas have a tendency to go in circle too. The same thing will come back all the time. When that happens and you feel in an overactive state, flowering oat can be a very nice plant to use to help calm that. It's a plant that really helps feel more zen. It's simply oat. Everybody should be able to take it. There's no side effects from using this specific plant. And depending on the companies that make the supplements, some of them are even gluten-free because oat naturally does not contain gluten. It's the cross-contamination that's making it a source of gluten. This is something that is even beneficial for children because our children or teenagers often are stressed. We're asking a lot of them. We have them follow ridiculous schedules sometimes. It's go, go, go all the time, going from one activity to the other. Flowering oat can also be a good way for them to relax. It's even been approved for usage with children. Adrenal support. If people's adrenals are getting exhausted, well, first of all, magnesium could be interesting because often people that are under a lot of stress use a lot of magnesium. And it's one of the minerals that can be easily deficient in a lot of diets, especially refined diets. Taking a magnesium supplement can help. It's not an instantaneous boost, but it can help alleviate some of the bad impact of stress on our system. Royal jelly, the food that bees give to their queen, is very, very rich in elements that can help the adrenals function better. It is a very good food for your adrenals. It will help fortify them and make them healthier. Adaptogen plants. They are called adaptogen because they have to meet 3 criteria to be under that category. They have to be non-toxic in normal doses. They have to help your body cope with stress. And they allow your body to return to balance. So they are working to bring your body back in homeostasis. I really like rhodiola, which is a really good adaptogen. It doesn't have any stimulating effect in your system, and it really does help towards that. Ashwagandha is also another really good plant that does exactly that. And there's a lot of ginseng that can help with that, but you have to be careful because some ginsengs are more stimulant. I would be careful with Asian Korean ginseng, the Panax ginseng, that is more stimulant and you could not use it long term to help manage stress. I really prefer using rhodiola and ashwagandha better than using ginseng for long term support. The American Siberian ginseng is less stimulant. It's better for long term use. You can use it for a longer period of time without taking breaks. Any information contained in this podcast is not intended to replace your doctor's recommendations. If you have a health condition or are taking medications, it is very important to consult your doctor to ensure that you can make the changes you wish to make and that any changes will not interfere with your medical treatment or medications you are currently taking. Thank you for listening the entire episode. If you enjoyed, please follow or subscribe on the platform you are using. You can also press the notification bell to be aware when I post a new episode, which will be Tuesday morning. I will see you in the next episode. Have a nice day.